สวัสดีครับ I'm Point from ค้นพบ Today I want to talk about how to build your self-confidence, especially when it comes to stepping outside your comfort zone to try and do something new. Now, first of all, before we talk about that, I think it's helpful to use a story to illustrate why is it that we humans experience so much fear, anxiety, and dread just when we are about to step beyond our comfort zone. Right? And that story is best illustrated by understanding the behavior of zebras. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Jordan Peterson for explaining this really well. He explained the behavior of zebras from an evolutionary perspective really well and linked that to human behaviors, why humans fear standing out so much. Okay, so the story goes along the lines of this. A group of biologists were studying the behavior of zebras. And the question that they wanted to figure out was, why the patterns? Why the black and white stripes? Because obviously, you can see a zebra from miles away. It's not camouflaged in and against the environment. On the contrary, for example, a lion is well camouflaged. The golden color fur is well camouflaged against the tone of the African plains, the color of the African plains. So that makes sense, but why the zebra? You can see a zebra from miles away. It doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, so to do that, they try to target a zebra and tag it, and they marked it. So I think they painted some sort of color on that zebra to better study the behavior. Now, against their better judgment, what happened was the lions ended up targeting that zebra, pinpointing that zebra, targeted it, and then hunted it down. So what does it show? It shows that besides accidentally killing an innocent zebra by accident, it shows that the camouflage works. But the camouflage is against the herd, not against the environment. So a zebra is protected when it's in a large herd or large group. Just like humans, we want to fit into the crowd so much. We fear standing out because to stand out is very much in a sense, it is very dangerous to stand out, to be targeted, to be different, to be pinpointed, to be singled out. So human behavior, we want to be in the middle and in the center of the crowd, as blended in as possible. So the camouflage is against the crowd or the herd. And this explains why we fear so much to do something new or to go outside our comfort zone, because it puts us in a position to be away from the safety and camouflage of the crowd, from fitting in. From that perspective, human behaviors is like this. We don't really chase after happiness. What we really do is our behaviors are predicated to avoid discomfort, to avoid hurt, to avoid pain, to avoid suffering. Our actions, our decision-making thought processes are usually centered around that. We want to avoid the discomfort. In a sense of going outside your comfort zone, obviously it's very discomforting to think about the pressure that you have to face should you be forced to stand out and be singled out like that, to try something new and therefore risk making some error of judgment, risk making a fool of yourself, risk embarrassment, risk failure, risk judgment. So understanding this helps us to see the context of where this fear is coming from a behavioral perspective, from a psychological perspective. And when we understand that, we can therefore work to overcome it. Because if this is a behavioral issue or psychological issue, we can address it. We can overcome it. So one of the first thought experiments that I want to present today is this. If you want to work beyond your comfort zone, or if you want to step outside your comfort zone, right? If you want to gather the confidence to do so, one thing is to realize that don't jump to conclusions. Because what's happening is when we're thinking about trying that new thing, trying that new lesson, trying that new skill set, trying that new job, quitting your job, asking that girl out, or learning a new language, you name it, right? Anything that's beyond our comfort zone, We think about it well, but when it's time to actually take action, we hesitate, right? Because the mind is making some sort of projection into a future event, a future payoff event, and the future payoff is assumed to be negative. We make a fool of ourselves, we risk judgment, etc. Right? So your mind is jumping to conclusions. That hasn't happened yet. So one thought experiment is to realize this and to stay present. Don't jump to conclusions yet. See how it unfolds. Just be curious to see how it unfolds. Think in that perspective. Because when you think in that perspective, it helps you to look in the perspective of opportunities rather than limitations. Right? So irregardless of how you feel in the moment, and of course this is much easier said than done, because in the moment the feeling of fear or anxiety is very much real. The perceived sense of threat is very much real. So yes, it's easier said than done. But try in the moment, irregardless of how you feel, try to not jump to conclusions and think in terms of curiosity just to see how it will unfold. Because you're thinking in the perspective of opportunity rather than fear, right? Here's another thing I want to propose. Stay composed. Really articulate clearly and thoughtfully about what you want, right? If you think about that new skill set that you want to acquire, that new language that you want to learn, or that new business that you want to start, or asking for a promotion at work, or quitting your job, or asking that girl out on a date, asking that guy out on a date, anything, you name it, right? That's quite scary to think about. Really articulate what you want out of it. And try to focus not in terms of the outcome yet, but focus what you can get out of it in terms of your personal growth. Again, this mindset helps you to see with a bigger and longer vision that, hey, at the very least, I know the chances of making mistakes in the beginning, because I'm a newbie at this, is very high. So I'm not going to focus on the outcome. But hey, I get something out of it. I grow from this experience. I get the personal growth from overcoming my fear. I get the personal growth from trying something new and learning about myself. And if you think in that perspective, it helps you to look at opportunities rather than focus on the limitations and the perceived risk, right? Next point I want to propose is we have to play with our fear, so to say. Fear isn't necessarily a bad thing if you know how to use it, right? So let's say that for me, right, I'll give you an example. When I started this page, I was very scared. You can go check out the first video I released. It was really, really bad, poorly done. I had a really horrible hairdo, horrible lighting, horrible camera. It was shot on a GoPro Hero 6, not good for indoor filming, obviously. And I was scared. But see, I used two forces, and also from the help of a friend who was encouraging me, from the help of many friends. I used two forces to try to get myself to see through the fear and step out of my comfort zone. One is being pulled, the force of pull. Be pulled by the idea of who you could become if you tried that new thing, which you're sort of afraid of doing. Also, be pushed by a sense of curiosity. Be pushed by a sense of curiosity, a sense of adventure, of what you can achieve or where this path would lead you to, the challenges and the obstacles that you will meet and you will overcome, and the adventure that comes along with it. Yes, the fear will still be there. Yes, the challenges and obstacles could be very real. And yes, there are risk factors. But when you think in this perspective, it helps encourage you to take action despite being met with fear. So, again, in this case, fear can be used to your advantage. If you use fear to listen to yourself about why you fear. Because in a sense, if you really ask yourself, you really contemplate and ask yourself questions. Why do I fear that? In a sense, you'll realize that it sort of tells you that, yeah, maybe you should try that thing, right? Because maybe the bigger fear is a fear of regret. So fear can be used as a positive thing if you use it as a compass to follow your intuition. That's the key here. If you use fear as a compass to follow your intuition, it can be, in a sense, a compass that guides you to do something that would be well worth the reward should you take that initial step and pass through the barrier of fear. right? And when you think in this, self-reflection and contemplation about why you really want to do this, put the payoffs aside first. What will you get from your personal growth? Why do you want to do this? Why is this your heart's desire? Do you really want to do this? What is your intuition saying? When you ask yourself these questions, you get more in touch with being your genuine self, with your authentic self, and this is where a sense of faith can come. You have faith in the process. You have a sense of belief in yourself. That faith is predicated on, yes, this is going to be hard, but I'm willing to bet on myself here, and I am willing to live with the consequences no matter how bad they will be, either literally or perceived. Most of those times, those negative consequences are perceived fears. So therefore, you can deal with them, right? So this is thinking in this framework, thinking in this growth mindset framework, these ideas that I'm presenting, this growth mindset framework, it helps you cultivate a sense of self-belief and a sense of faith that is grounded in reality and not grounded in illusion or delusion, right? Here's another idea that I want to propose, that I know this is not easy, and I'm still struggling with this myself, right? I still have more things that I could work on in terms of my self-confidence, and this is a growth journey for me just as much as it is for you, I'm sure. But look, at the end of the day, we can't escape the truth that there's no magic pill here, okay? I don't think there's any magic pill. If there is, please tell me, because I've been looking for it too, but I don't think there is. At the end of the day, we do not gain confidence by sitting there and thinking about what to do and thinking about it, but we gain confidence by doing. We gain confidence by doing and by facing setbacks, facing obstacles, and overcoming them one by one, bit by bit. Okay. At the end of the day, we tend to think that the price that we have to pay for failure is this huge imagined price, right? As I mentioned, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, fear of others' opinion, fear of society's opinion, fear of judgment, fear of looking foolish, you name it. But look, at the end of the day, you pay a price no matter what. You pay a price if you choose to take action, and you also pay a price if you don't act at all. And inaction is often a far bigger price to pay. That's the key here, because inaction is a bigger price to pay because you pay that bill down the road years from now. That bill is a bill called regret. That bill is a very healthy price to pay. And I'm sure that most people, in their senior years, a study has actually been done by this actually, but that one of the biggest things that people, regret about is regret not doing that thing when they were younger. Right? So regret is a really, really heavy price to pay. So think about that. Really think about that. Really think about that and try to think about it from a growth mindset, as I mentioned earlier. Okay? Which brings to the next point. Okay, in terms of execution, right? I want to borrow the concept of flow here. Flow from the book The Psychology of Optimal Experience. So flow was researched by Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and I talked about that in my earlier videos. And in a nutshell, it is a state of peak performance. And it is when you challenge yourself to do a task, and that has a challenge that is quite well balanced against your current skill set level. It's not too easy and it's not too hard. It's not impossible. And in that, in that sweet spot is when you have a chance to really do a good job in that task or in that challenge, and you have a state of peak performance, which is called a flow state. But the point I want to borrow from that for today's video is to show that these flow states, they lead to a growth of your sense of self. So this is how growth happens, personal development, personal growth. Your sense of self, your sense of self-confidence, and your sense of capacities and capabilities grow once you learn how to set challenges for yourself that are appropriate with your current level of skill set. So for somebody who is a complete newbie who wants to step outside their comfort zone, say you want to learn a new language. And a lot of people message me directly and also comment in my page about how can they practice their English skills. They want to speak English better. They want to be more fluent in English. And the answer again is there is no answer except for practice makes perfect. You have to do it. You have to take action. Unfortunately, you can't think about it. You have to practice speaking, which puts you at risk. And I totally understand this because I've been there too. And similar to my page when I started this, it puts you at risk of fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of looking like a fool, right? But there are ways to do this. Practice speaking, in a case of English, practice speaking with somebody who first of all you trust, right? So that is a challenge level that isn't too far-fetched for you, right? You're not speaking in a public speaking forum. Speak with somebody who you can trust and don't worry about the opinions of others. So have that match your skill set, and that's one way to really execute this, right? So another thing I want to present is this. When you really contemplate on your fears and why they're holding you back, if you really objectively self-reflect on why you fear that thing, is it because you had a bad experience in the past and you got made fun of because you made a mistake before? Is it because that is a new skill set that's way beyond your comfort zone? Or is it because you believe that, yeah, I want to do this business, but I don't think I can really achieve it. I don't think I'll be successful, etc. Right? If you really contemplate that, you realize that those fears are more illusionary than you think. Meaning that they all happen in your mind, right? Those fears are nothing more than a thought that you're projecting about some negative future event. Say you're going to get made fun of. Say you're going to lose money. Say you're going to, lose the validation and the approval from other people. Those really are often nothing more than your emotion systems working against you without you realizing it, to get you to get stuck in that comfort zone. Because again, human behaviors, like the zebra story, we want to avoid discomfort. We want to avoid suffering. We want to avoid not hurting. But sometimes to go through that terror barrier, to go through that fear barrier is where the gold lies. Gold in the sense of your sense of self-satisfaction, your personal growth, and who knows where that path can lead you. So really, really contemplate on why you fear that. And once you contemplate on this, you will start and begin to realize that your fear is predicated on what? It is predicated on your relationship with the word failure, with the word embarrassment, right? Your fears are predicated and related to how you view failure, how you view being made fun of, how you view the opinions or the judgment of other people. But the good news is this, and I talked about this in some of my previous videos, that our emotions, they come from our thoughts. So actually, you can actually train yourself, you can actually train your own mind through mental training to change the way you perceive failure, setbacks, embarrassment, etc. Right? Because an emotion only has power over you when you have a thought that identifies with it. That your sense of self is predicated and tied to those thoughts that lead to those emotions. So, say you have a negative feeling or negative emotion that comes up because you made a speaking mistake and you feel that's quite embarrassing. Well, you have to realize that that emotion, that fear is coming from your thought that making a speaking mistake is going to look stupid and silly and that others are going to laugh at you. That's for example, right? Therefore, you can train your mind to change that relationship. Instead of thinking like that, you can actually train yourself to think that, okay, I made a speaking mistake, but guess what? That's what mistakes are for. Mistakes are for learning. We learn from our mistakes. And those who laugh at me, well, you know what? At the end of the day, it's the one who takes action that counts. It's not the voice of the critic that counts. It's the one that takes action and dares to face judgment and opinion from others that counts. So with this, you're changing your relationship to how you view mistakes, failures, and embarrassment. This is possible. So again, contemplate on your fears and try to reframe your relationship with failure. And therefore, it will help you identify the potential consequences of trying to take that thing, trying to ask that girl out, trying to learn a new language, trying to start a new business, trying to quit your job, trying to ask for a promotion. Anything that's outside your comfort zone that requires confidence to take that initial leap of faith. Once you understand this, you will stand a much better chance. Because in a sense, you will only take action if you realize either that you can change your relationship with failure, and or you realize that the fear of regret is bigger than the fear of taking action. So I want to share that with you. And for those of you who comment on my page or who send direct messages to me, I want to give you all the support about practicing English. I know it can be very hard in the beginning. And look, think of it this way. Think of Jack Ma, right? I want to use the example of Jack Ma. You know, his English is far from perfect. But look at him. He's on the world stage now. People are listening to him, even though he has imperfect English. But he would never get to that point if he had never dared to step beyond that comfort zone and rise above the judgment and opinions of others. For me as well, you know, you'll realize that in my videos, a lot of them have a lot of speaking mistakes, both in my Thai version and my English version. But I realized that there's no such thing as perfect. I have to keep moving forward. And I want to give you this another example is, I have seen really excellent people in organizations and in business who have really poor English skills, but they are very confident in the delivery. So it's not necessarily about your English skills per se, but it's also about your confidence. So think about the personal growth that you can get if you take the leap of faith and take the action to step outside your comfort zone, irregardless of how difficult it may seem, right? And so I want to give you all the best support and encouragement to do this. I know it's hard, and a lot of this personal development work is about doing your own identity change, meaning that it's addressing your own fear points, your ego structure, as I mentioned in my previous videos. You have to realize that your identity is tied to some form of, you know, fear of judgment or fear of failure, and therefore you have to rework that, and that can be very discomforting. But that's how growth takes place. And once you realize that, you start to treat these things, you know, instead of looking at it as a threat to your psyche or a threat to your sense of self, you look at it as a growth opportunity. And I think that's what helps us to take the step or the leap of faith to do something new. And as I said, you know, like, there's still so much more that I need to work on myself as well. There's still so much more I need to work on in terms of my own self-confidence, to push my own, you know, beyond my own comfort zone, my own current comfort zone, and to keep going. It's the process, that's what I'm trying to say. Don't fall in love with the end result, but fall in love with the process. And I have to remind myself this too, because we all have bad days. We all have days where we are met with fear, but we have to work through them, and that's the key. So the practice that I want to share is, again, really contemplate on your fears and your desires. Once you realize that your desires are higher than your fears, and once you realize that your fears are more or less illusionary, and that you can change your relationship with failure, then you'll stand a chance to take action steps to go and push yourself beyond your comfort zone. And here's another one that I want to share. A really key point is, really be open-minded and really self-observe yourself. Observe yourself in terms of how you react to other people's opinions of you. How do you react to other people's judgments of you? How do you react to other people's influences on you? Whether it's your friends, your family, your colleagues, your work organization, or even society in general. Really observe how you react to those things, and you will begin to understand your fear points more, and you will begin to be able to therefore change your relationship with fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, etc. Which is what is holding us back and wanting us to go back into the crowd like the zebra, right? So that's what I want to share in today's video. Please leave in the comments what you think. Again, this is a process. Growth is a process. It takes time. It takes deliberate practice and patience. Yes, there are risks involved. There is always risk. Risk of action and risk of inaction. At the end of the day, we get to choose. And we get to choose how we want to deal with and live with the consequences. So I want to share it in today's video. Please leave in the comments what you think, what you found most insightful about how to build your confidence and how to step outside your comfort zone. And if you like this video, please leave a like for me. Please share the video for me. And please subscribe to my channel. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the bell notification button. or if you're watching on Facebook, please like my Facebook page as well. That's it for now. Good luck with this work, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. สวัสดีครับ